All right. Thanks, Kasam. Good morning to all of you once again. And I'm here, Feroz Khan, a quite long name, Abdul Rasheed Feroz Khan. I'm the founder and CEO of CodeSizzler, based out of India and Middle East. And we carry operations across Southeast Asia, US, and UK customers. And thanks, Kasam, for arranging this at the like a technical morning. It's almost like a time of coffee for all of us based out of India here, and I really appreciate the people who have joined us on time. And I just don't want to keep these people to wait for this enthusiastic time. So let's start, and we will hope others will be joining us soon as we go. Here is a short networking. I love to do networking as a community person, and you can keep in touch over LinkedIn, or you can even drop us an email. You can be a part of Dear Azure pages available at LinkedIn or Facebook, Twitter, anything where you can get updates about the events. So I'm the founder and CEO again of CodeSizzler, and I'm a Microsoft MVP on Azure. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer as well and a cloud advocate on Azure. I help my customers, my Microsoft partners on migrating the workloads to Azure. And we have like third-party people as well who work with AWS, GCP, setting up hybrid cloud environments. And we carry a few of our projects which are based out of IoT, AI, machine learning, SAP solutions, and much more on big data as well. We are Microsoft partners on Silver application development. We are partners on app integrations as well, and data center on which we carry migrations and we set up SAP infrastructure for our customers as well. So that's a short introduction of mine, and here is about the next around I would say 1 to 1.5 hours, right? I would say 1 hour and 15 minutes where we are going to speak about Azure Migrate with a use case, and I will probably drop another the last 15 minutes to your hands to make it interactive to see like if you have any challenges, if you have any questions which we can answer, and if you have any topics on your mind which you wish to add it across on the further community events, and that would be an add-on for us, which I would really appreciate for keeping more topics to be added on our community events. Cool. See, this is going to be for the next 1 hour. We are going to make sense about the Azure Migrate service, which is available on Azure. We'll make sense about how you can do a VMware migration, the deployment steps that we have, okay, comparison that we have between like a normal migration that you do with Hyper-V and the VMware migrations, and what a Hyper-V migration is, and how the agent-based migration architecture looks like. What's new with Azure Migrate and ASR as well. We will also be making sense about how it works when it comes to an entire architecture, like how you can migrate an application layer and how you can migrate a database layer as well. So let me start here with the Azure Migrate service. Azure, just like other platforms, just like other CSPs, like in AWS you have a migration tool, and in GCP also you have a migration tool, just same like that. We have one such kind of thing in Azure, which is said to be Azure Migrate. So this helps you to migrate your workloads towards Microsoft Azure Cloud. So the latest version of the Azure Migrate helps you in a hub kind of thing. It helps you to track with all these functionalities which I have mentioned here. You can discover, you can assess the workloads, you can do an assessment, you can discover, and you can migrate your on-premise apps and workloads and cloud VMs as well to Azure. And not just that, you can also take steps which are available on readiness. You have Azure Readiness where you can take steps for optimizing the workloads. You can get some cost cut-off solutions when you optimize the workloads. And you do go with secure and manage, like you have Azure Security Center, you have Azure Log Analytics, right, where you can manage the telemetrics and you can keep your infrastructure to be highly secure. It's not just about the infra which is on Azure, but also your hybrid cloud setup environment that you have. So this is not just a stop solution, right? This is just not a one-stop solution. There are customers who have been looking for third-party tools as well. They prefer like we have been with third-party tools for ages together, and we don't like to stick towards Microsoft Azure tools or something. In those cases, we do have like independent software vendors and third-party offerings that are available. The third-party tools which you can use for migrating the workloads, especially in cases like migrating your SAP workloads on them. In those cases, you can even go with the third-party tools or think about an Oracle database migration. And in those cases, it's going to be like you will be in the hands of like third-party, the tool which has been provided by Oracle. And what matters here is that it's going to be certified by Azure, right? There will be a business tie-up between Microsoft and let's say SAP, right? Where they list out all the certified offerings that are available, and that would help you to go with making sense on what would be the exact tool that you can use on. So this is about Azure Migrate. You have like plenty many features. You can go with a unified managed platform. It's going to be like a single portal that you have. It's going to be like a single service which can help you to start, run, and track your migration journey towards the Azure environment. And you do get like I told you, the range of tools that you have. You have a server assessment tool, you have a server migration tool, you do have like database assessment or migration tool, you have Azure Migrate appliance that are available as well, which can be deployed for VMwares or which can be deployed for Hyper-V VMs. So just same like that, we also have a web app migration tool. If you are planning to assess the web apps that are available in a public endpoint and you want to migrate that towards an Azure app service, in those cases, you can even use a web app migration. You do have Databox. Okay, Databox is a very powerful service which imports like a large amount of offline data into Azure with the help of the Azure Migrate again. So it's like one hub. Azure Migrate is going to be like one hub where you have like plenty many services which has been integrated into it, where few are wrapped up into import, right, which works as a source, and few are wrapped up into like target, okay, where you want to deploy your infrastructure as well. And we do have VMware migrations. VMware migration is that the VM is said to be migrated, right? Your VMware's virtual machines, which can be migrated. So to do this, you have this service again, Azure Migrate, which helps you. And this goes with like two kind of options that you have. The one is agentless migration, and the other one is the agent-based migration. Agent-based is that you will come up with a tool, you will come up with an agent that would be available where Azure will look for you to deploy your agent on a VMware, right? On a VMware machine. That's your source machine that you have. And then you can start the migration. So that's like it's going to be like a monitoring tool. It speaks about the logs of your source machines and proxies, no? So that's going to be like agent-based migration, And agentless replication is that you migrate the VMs, okay, without having anything to be installed on them. It's going to be like a lift and shift of applications that we do. Okay, so that's agentless replication. The agentless replication, I would say it's going to be an easier one, okay, from a deployment point. And it has few limitations as well. You can simultaneously replicate up to like a maximum of 300 VMs, okay, which can be migrated at a time. Let's say, for example, it can be replicated from a virtual center server. And if you have more than like 50 VMs for migration, you can create multiple batches of your VMs, and you can replicate more at a single time, which can, if you don't have any performance impact that would happen. You do have the options of VM disk. VMs must have a maximum of 60 disks, or I would say lesser than that, okay, when it goes on agentless. And when it goes on agent, no, it's requested to go with like 63 at the max for agent-based migration. The next we have here is to be the deployment steps comparison that we have. You see, I have represented here with agentless, and you do have like agent-based migration comparisons. So you first need to prepare the VMware servers, okay, and VMs for migration. So this is like, I would say, the pilot stuff. You need to prepare the servers. You keep the OS updates to be done, okay. let's say if you're planning for a disk-based backup and you move it towards Azure, in those cases, you need to keep your servers to be updated. So you configure all the number of servers that you have. Let's consider your. Let me take a recent scenario which I was discussing about. You take like any company, right? Netflix or like Amazon Prime, someone, and they are planning to broadcast a movie today. Okay, they're planning to launch a movie today, and you should have seen like there will be like a huge data in, data out, IOPS throughputs that they will be looking for. So they need to configure like multiple number of server machines, and their architecture is like a vast one. They might be having Docker engine or anything. It's going to be like what exactly the workloads are based out of for the architecture. So in this case, they need to go across. Okay, they need to deploy with the number of server machines that they need, and that's based on the data center region as well. Let's say the customers are based out of Middle East, or the customers are based out of India. No, in those cases, they need to look for the nearest data center which would be for them. If it's going to be like a Tamil movie, I would say like the more powerful server machines will be deployed at South India, and like let's say some Netflix series or something like that again, which is based out of Hindi, then it will be based out of like West India or Central India or something like that. So the more the consumption that it goes across, this is said to be an assessment that we need to do. You need to prepare the servers. You need to when you prepare the servers itself, you need to make sense about where you're going to use the data center region. So configure all the number of servers, check for the OS updates. Okay, this is set to be a mandatory step. And when you prepare this, please discuss with your team, please discuss with your, I would say even your sales team or someone who knows an idea about where the bandwidth gets more utilized, right? Based on the project again. So this is set to be a mandatory step which you need to perform for both agentless and for agent-based. You then have the migration tool. Okay, migration tool is nothing but the Azure Migrate service that we have. So you need to create an Azure Migrate project on Azure portal. Okay, it's going to be like a universal one. It's not based out of like a data center region. It can be located with any kind of data center regions. And this is also a required step for both kind of options. You'll then deploy the appliance. So deploying this appliance is where it's needed for your agentless, okay? And for agent based, you don't need to deploy any kind of appliance. You will come up with, I would say, a mobility service for this. See, you find the next step, you have a mobility service on VMs, which you want to replicate. So this will be done for the agent based one. Agentless is typically used for any lightweighted appliance. Okay, like you're going to come up with a DR plans, you're going to come up with low maintenance of downtime that you might be facing on. In those cases, we can go with this. You then have deploying the migrate server. This is the next step that we'll be performing on. Okay, you will set up the appliance, okay, or the source VM, that's your VMware VM, to discover all the server machines that we have. You're going to discover and assess here. You will then bridge the mobility service that we have deployed earlier, okay, on the source machine that we have. So this is a required step for our agent based. And then the steps are common. So only these three things makes the sense between your agent and agentless. You will then replicate the VMs, you will run a drill test, your test migration, you will run a full migration, then you do the post-production, okay, and you get the migrations to be completed. So this is like, I'm sorry here, this is like the complete one-to-one step that you're going to perform, okay, on your workloads when you speak about migrations. So you start with an SS, you start with preparing the source server machines, you add the tools that you need, you deploy the appliance, you deploy the tools, okay, like a third-party tool even, and you come up with a replication appliance, replicate the VMs to the target region, do a drill test, check the performance counters, check the CPU counters, okay, data in, data out, bandwidth, outage on your data, okay. Once when all these things are done, run a full migration, and that's exactly where we go. You will then like have some post-production things where you need to route the DNS then, okay. Keep your proxies again to be configured. So that's all like post-production stuff that you do. We then have your like Hyper-V migration in detail. See the Hyper-V migration that you see here is said to be like a tool for migrating on-premise workloads and cloud-based VMs to Azure. So here, when we speak about Hyper-V, you have the ASR. I hope if you have been working with Azure, you should have come across this. There's a Azure Site Recovery tool. You can Google for it, or you can even go to Azure portal and you can find it as backup and site recovery. So this is a DR tool. This is a disaster recovery tool. The tool shares some common technology components which is used for data replication, but it also serves for like different purposes that we have. The Azure Migrate server migration tool provides like agentless replication for on-premise Hyper-V VMs, which will be using a migration workflow that will be optimized for Hyper-V. You will here install like a software agent, okay, which is on Hyper-V host or the cluster nodes. And nothing needs to be installed on the Hyper-V VMs over here. You will then come up with like a replication provider. You will have a recovery service agent as well, which comes across. This is said to be for the Hyper-V migrations that we carry on, and for like to come up with a huge network bandwidth to communicate with, we can even use Express Route. We then have this agent-based migration architecture. So this is said to be the architecture for agent-based migration of VMware VMs to Azure. So see here, the very first thing is that you need an Azure subscription. That's a mandatory part. You have Microsoft Azure. You need to come up with an Azure subscription that holds an Azure storage account, okay, that holds Azure Migrate servers, services. It should have a managed disk and Azure network as well. Secondly, a configuration server that you find here. No, this is the one. The configuration server, which is said to be like a hub. This has to be run it as a VMware VM that can be deployed from a downloaded OVF template, and the machine will run all on-premise site recovery components, which includes like the configuration server, process server, and the master target server that they have. So you find here we have the process server, okay, and we do have like other tools. We have the mobility service then. It captures all the data writes from the memory. So mobility service will be available on all VMware VMs to replicate or to migrate. You need to allow like automatic installation from the process server. Alternatively, you can install the service manually, or you can even use an automated method. I'm sorry. So you can, I'm sorry, can you just keep it on mute, please? It will break our flow of communication, right? You be on mute. We have time for your questions. Okay, let's make it like once when I'm done with this deck, before getting on to the whiteboard discussion, or we can even make it by the last few minutes. All right, thank you. So here, it's going to be like you have a mobility service. The mobility service is where you go with the automatic installation from the process server, or alternatively, you can even install the service manually or use an automated deployment method like System Center Configuration Manager. Here, you need to come up with an account which provides the permission to the VMware host. Okay, now this is all like done. You see, we have the VMware VMs, okay, the non-virtualized VMs, the source. You have the config server and the process server, which we discussed. You're going to use Azure Migrate 2, okay? And you do have like an Azure storage. You go with your Azure storage account, which has to be provisioned. You will review the server requirements, and then you will start migrating by opening up the ports that you need to allow. So this is going to be a common methodology when you speak about Windows Server workloads, right? Or when you speak about Red Hat Enterprise Linux or CentOS, SUSE or Ubuntu, anything. Now the point here is that what in case if I have a database, whatever we have discussed so far is going to be like a web application layer. And in case if there is a database that comes across, then the point is that you need to come up with a DMO, right? Database migration objectives and the methodologies that we have. So the database has like schema kind of thing, right? There might be like your customers who prefer for they have been at ages together in a SQL server, and they might be looking for migrating it towards like Oracle database or a MongoDB, something like that. So here there is going to be like the traditional database, which is based out of SQL, and you will be looking for some schema changes which has to be done for Oracle, or which has to be done even if you're speaking about the latest version of SQL as well. So here you need to work on it. You need to make sense that you come across with a schema. Okay, you make the changes, and then it's kind of a poly-based process, and then we will be migrating it. So this kind of assessment, the schema, the tables, okay, the data types which are supported and which are not supported when you migrate the workloads can be identified using database migration service. I repeat, it's the service name is said to be database migration service, which is there available on the Azure environment. We'll be speaking about it. Okay. So this is completely the overall view about the services that are available to migrate the workloads from on-prem to cloud, or even to set up a hybrid cloud infrastructure. In case if you're planning to put up in a hybrid infra, then the point is that you need to come up with an express route, or you need to put up a VPN connectivity, and then you will be deploying the architecture. I would appreciate if you can go for my website, CodeSizzler.in, and you go for the solutions. We have few reference architectures which we have deployed for our customers so far. And even that should help you out to make sense about how the implementations can be done. Well, this is not going to be an end. We are going to take it forward with a whiteboard discussion as well. We are going to make sense about how you can migrate some workloads in a real time. We will come up with speaking on scenario. This is provided by Microsoft again. Let's make it with a demo kind of stuff. Okay, we'll make sense about how the migration service works. Any questions on the text which we have discussed so far?
Hi, thanks, Rodin. Yeah, uh, with agent-based and agent-less, means the volume will be more, or what is the means? If you follow one approach, it will have huge volume when compared to the other one. On those lines, is there any way to differentiate between the agent and agentless?
Chetan, if I'm not wrong, I'm sorry, there was a voice break, but then I guess your question is that you're asking me about what if the workloads are said to be huge. Will we be able to make sense about whether I need to go for an agentless, or will I need to go for an agent based? Am I right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you need to go with the agent based if the workloads are huge. But then you also need to make sense about how you're going to overcome the downtime. There will be a minimal downtime when you do a migration. So when it comes to like scenarios of a banking application, in those cases, I would say that better you opt for a agent-based migration. You shut down your applications, okay, and then move for like lift and shifting of the applications that we have. And agentless, I would say like if you have simply like a web application tier or something, which is like a simple architecture, not an entire one. No, in those cases, you can go up with your agentless migration.
So you're saying the critical one will be agent-based, and not much critical one we can think of agentless.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. How can we migrate Unix physical machines to Azure? You have several ways on there. You can probably like go with a disk kind of backup. You put up a custom image on Azure storage accounts, like you create a virtual disk and you upload the images that you have. And that's like one kind of thing where you can spin up the server machines. And the other way is that you still have Azure Migrate, which has third-party tools for Unix that are available. That should be the other way that we can go across. Hi, Lohit. What is the purpose of Azure storage account during the migration? As I believe Azure Migrate is real-time replication based. Definitely, yes, it's going to be a real-time replication based, but the point here is that there will be like an object which has to land across. So to increase the efficiency that you have in point of the data distribution, optimizing the data distribution, minimizing the cost, and the latency that you have for read and write requests. No, in those cases, we need a storage account. It's going to work like a cache. And it also has a logs. Let's say that you have an outage over your internet speed or something when the migration happens. So all of a sudden you can just like go with the logs. I mean, you don't need to do any manual operations. You can go with the logs, and you can simply say that you need to get it continued from where the migration was stopped across. It would not stop, but then there'll be like a SLA that would happen. Okay, so to keep these logs to be on a store, we are using a storage account. The next question, hi Madan, what are the structured steps to follow for end-to-end on-premise migration to cloud? Hi, Madan, we actually have it on a reference architecture. I would share the link with you. Okay, I have it on my, like, if you can write me in a detailed way, no, if you're asking for like a Unix machine with a Nginx, right? Or if you're looking for any Windows server with IAS with the database compatibility, you can write me quite in detail so that I can give you a few reference architecture and end-to-end step, which will help you to migrate. Hi, Upindra. Is there any way we can estimate the time for the migration of on-premise Windows and Linux servers to be? Of course, yes. When you assess the servers in Azure Migrate, okay, you will come across with the number of servers that you have and what would be the maximum number of time that it would take for the migration as such. So your Azure Migrate service can help you to make sense about the time interval. Hello, Ram. How you are defining the landing zone? Ram, if I'm not wrong, are you speaking about like landing zone in the sense you're speaking about the target data center zone?
The Azure cloud side, from the source to target.
So your target is moreover like where your customers are based out of, right? You need to come up with the more of redundancy to be provided for them. They need to achieve like a minimum SLA, all those things. So your target, your landing zone, the terminology that you have used, I would say it should be a nearby data center region for your customer. You go to your Azure roadmaps, you see what are the series of machines that are supported, which are nearby to the customers, okay, over a data center region, and that should be your target one.
No, for example, if supposed to be you have small customer or large enterprise customer, how you define that? Based on that, you will do the landing zone. Is it correct? And as well as how you set up the landing zone for that, for the base ready in your target for the Azure side.
I just want to understand like what you mean when you say landing zone, because speaking in a migration perspective, we use a terminology as target destination data center service, but then we don't use it as landing zone. Can you just help me on understanding what a landing zone is, please?
Yeah, for example, target should be the Azure, correct? Whenever you
Yeah,
are migrating from on-prem to Azure, that is the target. The target is the Azure cloud, correct?
you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So whenever we are speaking about that landing zone, Azure landing zone for that, so what are the basic things it will come for that?
Okay, you're asking about me the services, right? What are the services that I need on a landing zone?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, that's gonna be like you need a network, of course, the very base layer, virtual network, and you need to keep the network security groups to be opened up, like the security protocols here should be known, and you need availability set for sure, which can manage the fault domains and update domains during your planned and unplanned maintenance. You need to keep up your OS image, your virtual machines, which has to be up on the target data center zones. You also need your load balancer or traffic manager based on the workloads that you have. It's going to be like layer 4 or layer 7. And if it's going to be a hybrid connectivity, we do need an express route or VPN to be connected with across. You do have Azure Migrate server appliance, which has to be deployed on the source machine, and that has to be connected to the target, I mean the server machines which you have spinned up. You, excuse me, on mute, please. You also need to, I'm sorry for interrupting, Ram. You also need to know about what would be like the data disks, the number of data disks that you need, okay, to attach to a server machine. And you need it to be configured like the logs that you have, the guest OS diagnostics that you need to maintain. So these are all like the basic services that you need to spin it up on the landing zone, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Abdul, just another one question I have, a basic question. For a
Yeah.
customer like mid size of customer who are not enterprise, having data for around 50 TB, what would be the best approach to migrate the data? See, the reason for asking is express route will be a costly solution. VPN connectivity and replicating moving the data through VPN will takes time usually. So, and any features I'm not aware of the equivalent service like Snowball. Once we move the data and then upgraded data, we can again replicate. So, in this kind of scenario, what is the best approach to for the first time to move the data from on-premise to cloud?
Can I understand if your workload is just like, I'm sure that it would be having a web application connected with a database layer, isn't it?
True, true.
So your Azure Migrate with the agentless migration itself should help you out. So they come up with a OVF kind of file. I will show you once when we go to the demo. Okay, a simple application that we are going to deploy. So if it's like 50 GB that you're speaking about, you can go with the
I'm talking about,
agentless.
sorry, 50
Yeah,
TB.
yeah.
Problem
So
is as that over the internet there are chances that it got disconnected or some issues again it may start from beginning, so those challenges we have to face during the transferring the data over the internet, so to
not
avoid those.
exactly, not exactly. You will, okay, let's take it's going to be a worst case that you are speaking about. You have the internet outage that happens. So that's exactly where we keep a storage account, right? You need an Azure storage which can keep the logs. It can speak about like until what time the snapshot was performed or until what time the backup has been moved towards. And it can start again from the point where it has left off, the time interval from where it has left off is such.
Oh great, but are you saying snapshot and backup it's relevant to the on-premise data moving to the cloud, right? Not on the
Yes.
cloud part.
Not on the cloud part. It's going to be the logs which will be maintained from the on-prem to cloud.
Great, yeah, that will help, thank you.
All right. Hi, Amar. How can we migrate servers from the other cloud platforms? Again, your Azure Migrate server itself has service itself has third-party tools as well, which supports. And for database components, you have the database migration service assessment tools like DMA as well, which helps you out. Okay, there are like plenty many questions that we are coming across. I will take this question, Nirupama, and another one as M guess. No, I will stop with this. I will continue with the whiteboard discussion and then we will move across with other questions then. Migration of SQL database to Azure, how many different ways and will you discuss the steps in the session today? We are going to have a discussion now with this white paper, Nirbama, speaking about the database migrations. And we can use Azure Database Migration Service in Azure for SQL Mig. Okay, that's an answer. Cool. Okay, I need to start with Ram for further questions that we have. I will just join once after we are done with the white paper discussion. Okay, this is a whiteboard discussion that we have, and see, this is a scenario where we are going to speak about. So in this scenario, we are going to make sense about we have an existing infrastructure which compromises both your Windows and your Linux flavors. Can you find this? You have both Windows and Linux servers, which will be running on VMware and the physical server machines. So here we are going to discuss about the whiteboard design, where you will make sense about what kind of heterogeneous environments you can migrate to Azure. And at the end, you will also make sense about how you can migrate the database services using Azure Database Migration. Here is our customer. The customer name is set to be Fabricum. The Fabricum Fabrics is let's say, a major manufacturer and distributor of clothing and soft furnishing materials. So this is like scenario established in 1972, and okay, they make a business of this turnover. Cool. Here is the situation. So the situation here is that let's take these components. This is the on-premise tools that they have. They have a Windows Server including 32-bit and 64-bit hardware running on Windows Server 2003 and goes up to like 2016. So we have like end of service, which we can see here, and we have some few services as well available. And Linux servers running a mix of Red Hat again and 7 series and Ubuntu. So there are like old flavors again. The above servers comprise both physical machines as well as the VM hosted on VMware infrastructure managed by Virtual Center 6.5. So there's an appliance that we have. And multiple database engines, including Microsoft SQL Server, PostgreSQL, and Cassandra are available. See, there are like entire that is available here. You have Windows Server, you have Linux environments, and you do have like VMware, which is running on with all these workloads. And there's a multiple database engine as well, like different database engines that are available. As a total, we have like 448 servers which are identified. Again, there's no clear view of the entire state of the servers which are running on. So, like I would say the data center locations like that, the distributed locations where we have these servers that are running on. Maybe I would say, see, it's like what in case if it's like a multinational company and you might be having your data centers which can be globally located, right? And speaking about on-premise data centers, it can be globally located like three main locations or five main locations like that. And there's like a complex of dependencies here between the servers, and we don't see a clear view of the entire state as well. So here, the approach is that they want to have a strategy to migrate the existing IT infrastructure as possible to Azure. You have like, you need to eliminate the IT infrastructure workloads, you need to clean the house, you have to create a modern fit for purpose environment and save the cost as well. So simply you need to migrate. The ask here is that you need to identify which servers can be migrated to Azure and what are the modifications that you need to do. You need to come up with a roadmap as well with a step-by-step execution of how the migration and the dependencies can work across, what could be the service that we can use, and the suitable migrate the tool that can be used for migrating database workloads as well. So here, the service name is said to be Database Migration Service. We then need to make sense about if there are any servers which cannot be migrated, what could be the alternate option that we can do? So of course you need to do with the OS updates, or you need to work on the schema updates, and then you can migrate. Prior to migration, accurately you need to forecast the cost. You need to go with a billing calculator. You need to make sense about what would be the pricing for this. See, this is all the, I would say, a non-production workload, right? When you do an assessment, when you do a pilot, you need to perform all these steps. I would say until this, it's gonna be your pilot kind of thing, your non-production things. And the post-production is that, see, in non-production, you need to make sense about what's the cost that has been happened for your, let's say for a quarter annual turnover, no? You need to see about what's the billing that has happened for on-premise maintenance. You include your support cost as well. You have some network admins who are working on, you include your OS update cost, right? If you have been buying some new license, or if you have been doing up some scalability at the on-premise, you also include those costs. And finally, you come across having a report with you. Do a documentation, have a report with you, like what's the cost that you have maintained for the on-premise. And once when you do the migrate, or before doing a migrate itself, go with a billing, okay, and see like what would be the cost that you might be having on. Take some like 2 days or 3 days of scale up that you might be doing. There might be spike that would happen for your customers as well. So have those things included as well and see like what's the cost cutoff that you get. So the point here is that as like an overall, you need to see you also have some cost cutoff factors. You say that you're a reserved customer for Microsoft, right? You're an enterprise customer of Microsoft, and you might get a cost cutoff when you run your instance for 2 years or 3 years of time like that. So that's like another add-on opportunity that we get. There are a few more cost cutoff, like when you say that you have Windows Server which is running at on-premise and you're planning to migrate due to end of service or something, there's another like cost cutoff that you can achieve. Okay, you get about like 49% of cost cutoff when you migrate the workloads from on-prem to cloud. So this is all like the common scenarios which has been mentioned by the customer. And we are going to use these two tools, Azure Migrate, and we'll be using database migration. So for your web application layer to analyze the VMware environment, to make sense about the sizing recommendations, see, Azure Migrate itself can help you to make sense about what all the size that you need to move the workloads. And it also supports with the migration of VMware environments, such as like your agentless migration architecture. And you also have the database migration service for any like people were asking what in case if it's an Oracle database or if it's going to be any third-party databases that we have. So for those things also, we have the database migration assistant, which can help you. So these two things, I have shared the link here this should help you out to make sense about how it can work on. So let's go across. I will start designing this solution. Where I made sense about the business needs, let's design the solution. Okay. So let's go for the Azure portal. Excuse me. Yeah. So go for your Azure portal. Okay, see, this is your Azure portal, right? I hope you should be familiar with this. Now, I have an application. Consider this is my on-prem app. Okay, I cannot show you in a virtual about the on-premise, isn't it? So I have come across with an application which I have posted here. So let me show you. See, this is the app which is running at, consider it's running it on-prem. So a web application, okay, which has database connectivity all, okay. So as an overall, when you go for a resource group, you can see this. You have consider this is your on-premise server machine, okay, and we have a virtual network, we have data disk available, we have OS disk, all these things with IP and everything. Let's plan to migrate this workload, okay, to the Azure environment. So to do this, the very first thing that I need to do is, I would say the very first step, it's discovering and assessing the on-premise environment. So can I take some, wait, let's go with a OneNote, okay? Well, let it get done. Meantime, makes sense. The very first step that we are going to do is that discovering and assessing the database. So here, like you have a database tier, you have an application tier, you have web proxies and everything. So to overcome this, I am just going to do the discover and assessing the things. So go here, search for Azure Migrate. Can you see this? We have we have Azure Migrate service. Come on. Yeah. Let's go for this service. And can you find this? You have, so the requirement was they were asking, I need a service which can help me out with a complete step-by-step execution of migrating the workloads. So Azure Migrate is a service which speaks about move your Windows, Linux, or any like third-party flavors, okay, as is and migrate it. You do run your SQL Server database, and you see what could be the step-by-step execution that I need to perform for a migration as well. It can be a web app, or it can be from offline data migration, put up a container, or for a big data workloads, migrate Java apps to Azure. You have all the documentations as well. For checking your pricing, you go with this. Okay, you check the pricing as well here. So let me go with get started, and I will say I need to assess all my workloads. So scroll down, right? And you can see that you have assess, migrate, discover, assess, and migrate. Let me go here, and I'm going to examine all these things. So let's create a project now. You say project. I'll say a new project to be created. Okay, we don't have any. Let's create it here. Click here to create a new project. And I'm going to put up a new resource group. I'll say create new, and I'll say it's going to be Azure Migrate resource group. And my project name, I can give a project name here. Let's say Smart Hotel Migration. And geography, that's your data center zone. Let's say US. Let me click on create. And once when this is done, I can go with like discovering and assessing my service that we have.
Hi, Feroz. I have just one question. I missed some part of it.
Yes,
Yeah, actually, what is the difference between agent and agentless migration?
when you speak about an agent-based migration, there will be like a virtual appliance tool that Microsoft will provide you, which you need to deploy it on your source server machine. and you need to configure your proxies. You need to configure about the number of servers that you have all. So this should be used when you have like a premium tier of application. Whereas like a simple small kind of workload applications that you have, in those cases, you can go with the agentless. There'll be no application dependencies. There'll be no like a virtual server which gets involved. Okay, I mean appliance tool which gets involved, and you can directly migrate the workloads.
And one more question, you are creating the Azure Migrate project right now to migrate the on-premises to the some other Azure portal. So is it the same project we can use for the multiple client, like it's some kind of automation we can do, like suppose we have an application which need to be migrated to the different clients, the same thing. So that kind of automation we can do with this project also.
If your clients are same, and if you are in, I mean, if your architecture is as well the same, then you can use the same project. Provided for different architectures, even if there's said to be one DB layer which is going to change, in those cases, you need to go with a new project to be created. All right, so here we go with Azure Migrate, discovery and assessment. So you have like you're going to discover and you're going to assess all these things, and you do have like see the migration that we can do, the server migrations that we have. So now let me go. I will deploy the migrate appliance. So to do this.
Hi, this is Venki. I have a question here. So without this assessment tool, we can do the migration also, right? What is the benefit on this assessment tool?
If you have no idea about what's the number of servers that we have and what's the schema that has been available on the servers, the OS updates, in those cases, we need to use this. If you're well defined about the architecture, you can just go with the ASR and you can start migrating them.
Okay, it's only with the like it gives the detail of what is the on-premises server which is there, which I'm going to migrate. That's it, right?
Exactly. It gives you the details about the on-premise servers that we have.
And so without it also we can do that one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Let me get this done, and I'll stick to the rest of the questions, please. If you have any questions, you can even keep it written on the chat, and we will stick to that by the last like 10 to 15 minutes, please. Well, here we go. I will start deploying the migrate appliance or the source machine. Okay. So let's go up across, and I will say I need to discover the server machines that we have. For this, I need to go with deploying the migrate appliance. So deploying this migrate appliance, you click on discover. So here you're going to discover the machine using appliance. And you see here, yes, with VMware or you have Hyper-V, our machine is running on Hyper-V, so I will say Hyper-V here, and I can get it created. So let's say it's a smart portal appliance app, and let's generate the key for this. So here you're going to generate a Azure Migrate project key, which provides like you need to provide a name to get the key for the appliance, and that would help you to set up for the discovery of Hyper-V VMs. So it creates the key now. You need to take a note of this key. Okay, I will say okay. So I need to first discover, okay, the server machines. And now I have created a project, okay, and I'm generating a Azure Migrate project key to deploy the appliance. Let's wait for it. So here you see your key has been created. Let's copy this key. Okay, I'll keep it on my one for the reference. All right, let's keep this opened up and I will connect to my on-prem machine.
So it created an migration appliance, right?
Yes, yeah. So to connect with my on-prem machine, let me log in once again. I'll keep this opened up so that I have not missed the key or the face. You see here the on-premise server machine which we have considered. And I'll click on connect to get connected for this. Or let's take the public IP. And remote desktop. Excuse me, you're on mute. Let's get connected for the server machine. I request once again, please be on mute. We are planning to share a recording with you people, okay? And this would bother you actually if you're not on mute. Okay, here we go. So here in this server manager, can you see this? We have a Hyper-V. So you can go for the Hyper-V manager. You either click here and you see the server machines. You just double click on this and you can find it. If not, you can even go to the tools and you can keep your Hyper-V manager to be opened up. See, we have it here. And you have the machines. You can see like a list of 4 VMs that comprise the on-premise applications. You have SQL, you have Web1, Web2 layer, and the Ubuntu WAF1. So let's go. No, I would preferably say let's go up here and we will take some actions on importing the virtual machines. So in Hyper-V Manager under actions, see here, you can see like you can import the virtual machines that we have. So say import virtual machine. And here you can begin like importing the machines. You just click next and you look at the folder on which you're going to save it. Let's select data. Okay, your folder F and virtual machines, Azure Migrate appliance, and let's select this folder. Now let's click on next. And this is going to be a migration appliance step. You see here, we are going to select the VM and we are saying register the virtual machine in place. We will be having a unique ID. If you're planning to restore the VM, then go with this, or to copy replica of the VMs, you use copy the virtual machine. So let's say next for this. And we need to connect with the network. Okay, your Azure Migrate network, which we have. You click here, you see Azure Migrate. Or for internal network address translations, you can even use this. So we are trying to connect with a third-party network. So Azure Migrate switch and click on next again and establish the connection now. You click on finish and you'll be establishing the connection. You see here Azure Migrate appliance, which is set to be off. Let's keep this to be turned on. You say start and this can keep the machine to be turned on. So you have a Migrate appliance which you have deployed here. And from here on, you will configure like the migrations to be carried on. You need to configure this Migrate appliance. So this machine is running now. Let's try connecting for this machine. You can just say connect for this Azure Migrate appliance. Let's say connect.
Can you go on mute, please?
Let's wait for this here.
Okay, if it would have on premises, then we have to copy this, and on premises we have to launch this, right?
Exactly. Yeah. This is your on-prem machine now. Yeah.
So this technique can be used to migrate from one subscription to another, or only for the Hyper-V and on-premise VMs.
This is not a step for migrating from on-prem to, I mean, replicating the things. No, this is not a step. For replicating, you can directly go for ASR. You can replicate from one data center region to another. This is for migration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Mohit. I have one more question, Abdul here. Sorry, I joined late.
No.
So I have what so there was one VHD file uh, that we seen in that portal, right? That's what this VHD is, right?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt. I missed your voice in between. Can you come again?
Yeah, sorry. So I have seen that in the portal Azure, when you created the project for the migration project, there is one VHD file of image, 17 gig something. Is it the same that what we are right now connecting?
Yes, exactly. The same image that we are trying to write. Yes.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
Well, okay, so here is like the server machine just been spinned up. Let's agree for the license agreement and we will keep the server to be up. So here is the migrate appliance which has been up now. Let's try connecting for it. So once when this connected, no, it will actually open up your Azure Migrate appliance configuration wizard. So you just need to go through the license agreement and that can do the discovering the connectivity towards Azure and the synchronization time and discovering the database, all those things can be done.
Can I keep this appliance in Azure as well as an VM?
Not a recommended one here. It has to be at like in your on-prem. Yeah, your on-prem only has to know like what are the config and it has to discover the server machine. See, your network will be completely different, right? You're not going to be there on the Azure virtual network. You're there on the on-premise network and you're planning to migrate from on-prem to cloud. So this has to run at your on-prem. For demo purpose, I have like, I don't have any other options to show you. So I have here gone with an Azure environment itself. Consider this as your on-premise, please.
Any recommendation for how much days we run this assessment?
Depends again on the workloads. I would say it's not going to be actually days. It takes like hours of time. That's it. It's not days. Even if you have like TBs of data, it's going to be like hours of time.
Okay, if an application, I have an application that gets a spike during a specific time interval. So how can I identify the workload, what CPU I have to assign once it gets migrated?
You remember I was speaking about a service called Azure Log Analytics, where it can perform all like performance counters that you have, your log metrics, your if it's like your data in, data out, storage throughputs, all these things can be monitored at the log analytics, and that can send an alert for the admin. It can even take an automated action. You can say like auto scale up has to be done, or you can say based like if you have any Azure runbooks to take up an automated action, you can also do that.
Okay. Because we need to prepare an assessment report before to the client, so that these are the requirements that it should be built on this this number of CPUs and this much memory.
Of course, you need to do it. I hope you remember I was discussing about it when I was on the deck, right? I was showing like what are the pilot status that you need to do along with like building and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here you see like a new update has been installed. Please refresh the page. So it says that there's some update on the prerequisites that we need. So we are refreshing it. It's an automated action. The appliance configuration manager discovers the server machines and it does that. And next we need to register with Azure Migrate server. And
Abdul, from where you got this URL? That URL you mentioned, right?
no, once when you put up the virtual migrate appliance, this will automatically land up for you.
It is customized to OS from the Azure side.
Exactly.
One more question, Abdul Mohit from this side. So this Azure appliance VM that we have installed, it will be on the same on-premise data center, right, where all our applications are hosted?
Exactly. Yes. It should rely on the same on-premise network from where you are planning to migrate the workloads.
Right. So and it should aware like or is it like auto discover all those workloads, or we need to tell okay this is the server for this workload?
No. Once when you register the Azure Migrate, it can discover automatically whatever the machines that are available on the network.
Got it. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. I have few questions to be addressed. Let me go with this. Can we use Azure Database Migration Service in Azure for SQL migration? Yes, you can do it. Do we have migration approach 100% with zero downtime in Azure? Is that possible? Ram, let me be transparent. CSPs often say, even they come up with a statement as 99.9% of availability. But speaking in a real-time perspective, that down is that no CSP can provide you with 100% of uptime. There will be a minimal SLA that would happen for you. Okay, but I'm not saying that there will be a throttle, but you will be able to reach the application. There will be a slack. There will be a slack on the application reach. Yeah. Can we use Azure Migration to migrate workload from other cloud providers? Yes, you can. We have third-party tools that are available, so that can also help you. It is, or is DMS, database migration or app migration, any of them? What's that? Ram, I see this question like, I just added a smiley for it. Can you make this question to be much more comfortable, please? Hi, Upendra. How to ensure that IP address assigned to on-premise service remains same when migrated to Azure? You can come up with a private IP address assignments, which can be added based on the CADR addressing that you do on the virtual network, Upendra. You can allocate up to 5 static IP addresses, which can be private. And if it's more than that, you need to raise a quota request on the Azure portal. Excuse me. I'll keep the questions to be hold on with this. See here, you have the prerequisites which we have set up, and let's run down. You find the register with Azure Migrate server. So this is where you need to paste the key. You remember we registered the Azure Migrate, no? So go copying the key from here. Right, we have the key. I have it on the OneNote as well, so let's add it up here. And I'll say login. It will give you a code which you need to use it to log in towards the Azure portal. So you copy the code and give it up here. It opens the tab automatically. Click on next. And you need to log in with your Azure account then. There we go. So you have signed into the Microsoft Azure PowerShell appliance on your device. See, this gets registered now, logged in as labs at CodeSizzler.info.
Meanwhile, you can go through questions.
Sure. What are the other questions? How to define calculating licensing of the on-premise IaaS or PaaS migrations? How to define calculating? How to define licensing on the on-premise? This depends on the agreement that you have between you and Microsoft. If you're simply a pay-as-you-go customer, you pay like whatever the service that you have been running, you go with the pricing calculator and you get the costing for the same. If you have some migration or something like that, and if you're an enterprise customer of Microsoft, you can get a business deal with them that can achieve you for a 32 with a max of 49% cost cutoff. Can we migrate Oracle and DB2 running on Linux to Azure? Yes, we can. We have specific tools that are available as well within the part of DMS. Okay, there's something based on the question. Hi Ram, Chandra, it's based on your, okay, it's some answer. Okay, these are some conversations that we have. Okay. How do you define the network hub and spoke? So this is a part of your ASR. When you go with Azure Site Recovery, you need to define this hub and spoke. What's maximum servers can we migrate using? I was speaking, no, you have a maximum of up to like, when it comes on the disk part, it's 63. And when it speaks like a server, you can migrate up to like a maximum of 500. Okay, on screen, please. So we have the credentials to be added up. You say add credentials here. And you see we have Hyper-V machine which we're going to connect with. I'll say host login for the credentials. Let's give it up here. Let's click on save. And I will say add the discovery source. So see, this is going to discover the things. Let's say add a single item from Hyper-V from my host login. Smart hotel host is my app name. Okay, the IP address name. Let's give this and see it gets validated. So this is the Hyper-V host cluster details which we are giving. So this has been discovered and it takes the port number, everything by default. This says the validation successful, that the server machine was discovered. Okay, and you should be here. Have the details of your IP address, your FQDN and everything. So we are
used. What is the permission level required?
For which one you're asking about?
That a demo user you used, right? So if I am in domain, then what is the permission level required?
You just need to be the admin of your on-premise machine. That's it. Let's click on start discovery now. So including your appliance, we totally have like 5 server machines on this network. Okay, you should be able to see that once when this is done. Meanwhile, the questions. Scrolling down. Mute, please. How can we do storage migration from? Amar, this is like a bit huge discussion that we need to carry. Probably I will keep this as one more topic to be added up. Okay, we have tool again available. Like often we go with data box, or we do have like appliance tools from Azure Migrate itself. So that can help you out. Okay, but let's probably take a community talk on this. Okay, how to go with a storage migration. I would say that it will be more fruitful to you if we are speaking from a reference architecture. Hi, Mohammed Imran. You said we need third-party appliance to migrate third-party workload like AWS GCP, but I can see there's option to deploy appliance for AWS. I mean that these appliance which has been provided is from third-party to Azure and it's certified by Azure. Okay, so you go with of these tools, okay, which is ideally third-party. It's not a product of Microsoft. It's certified by Microsoft again. You're getting it, you know, like we have Databricks, which has been bought by me. It's an integration tool. Just same like that we have it, all these things. Right. Still discovering the server machines. And you know, you can go up here, you can see like the server machines which have been discovered by going for Azure Migrate. See, go to Azure Migrate, migration goals, click on Windows, Linux, all these things. See discovered servers. No, you click on refresh. Once when the discovery is done, you can find here as the total number of servers that we have. Still, it's getting done.
So this discovery is right now going on is basically scanning of the smart hotel host.
It scans your on-prem server network that we have, Mohit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So whatever servers are on that network, it will go through all of them.
Yeah, it will discover all the server machines and it will list out the same on the Azure Migrate service.
When scanning happens, will the configuration will also be displayed? I mean, like what is the current configuration? What is the actual usage? What should be the suitable VM on the Azure on those lines?
The suitable VMs will be displayed, Chetan, but then not about the size of the server machines which are running it on-premise because Azure has no idea about the sizing configurations. So that will not be listed out. It will just say like what are the total number of server machines and what would be the exact workload you can use it on Azure. That's it.
When you say exact workload means even configuration is
Sizing, sizing, right? Like you say you have general purpose machines, you have high performance compute machines. So Microsoft will just discover and say that you go with Azure VMs, which can be of these tiers, like DS1 underscore V2 or like B2MS, something like that.
okay, but configuration, exact configuration, it's the individual have to choose on those lines,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
This Azure migration able to migrate the past components like Azure IoT Hub, Stream Analytics, and other past components, or
No,
only the VMs and SQL and web applications.
this is only for web data layers. For IoT, all we have altogether different services and architecture.
How to migrate Java applications in
Java applications, we have third-party tools. I showed you on the Azure Migrate we have. So go for get started. You have explore more. Here you can see we have third-party tools that are available where migrate Java apps to Azure is there. Is that okay? All right. See, the discovery has been successfully initiated and you can go to the Azure portal to see the machines that are available. Let's go for migration goals here. And you should be able to see the machines. See discovery. Okay, let's wait. One appliance. Let me try a refresh as well. Can you find this? We have discovered servers as 5. And it's Windows which are running 4. And there's like unknown, the customized image that we have, which is said to be 1. And with this, you can create a migration assessment. You scroll up, you should be able to see get started. Okay, go with again discover, assess, and migrate. We have all these things now. You say click here to add the assessment tool. Can you find this? We have all the third-party things as well that are available. So let's go with Azure Migrate. I don't see a tool of mine. One moment. Migration tools. Okay. assess. Yeah, we can do it from here. So let's say Azure VM, and we shall create an assessment. I repeat, you have third-party tool offerings, okay, and you do have like assessment types which you can go here. So it's going to be assessment type with Azure VMs. Therefore, VMware solutions all here, and discovery service. Let's say servers discovered from Azure Migrate appliance. And see, this is the properties. You say like someone was asking, how do I make sense about the costing, all those things. So if you have a hybrid benefit, you can say yes and you get a cost cutoff. You need to edit the plans in the sense you come up here, you say what's your target data center location. Okay. For this, I would say my target location is set to be at, for example, at North Europe, right? I can select North Europe and I can say I will be running for 1 year for sure. So I need a cost cutoff. And VM size, you can prefer it based on the performance. Performance history can be like 1 day. It can do a throttling test there. Size, select all the size, and that can prefer for it. Comfort factor and pricing, we are going to use pay as you go. This is an assessment, okay? And we see, since it's on premise, we are saying that we do have a Windows Server license. Let's click on save. And now you can say like, go for the next, and the server access to migrate. I'll say smart hotel assessment for my assessment name. And let's create a new resource group for this. I'll say smart hotel VMs. Appliance name, it's going to be smart hotel, okay, the Hyper-V, and see this is all the server machines, the IP address, all those things. So leave this appliance, we can select the rest, okay. Let's select web 1, web 2, application layer alone, database we will use DMS. So Ubuntu WAF, and let's select next, and let's say create assessment. There we go. And in assessments, you should see once when it's done. Success. Okay, let's say refresh. Can you find this? Assessments total, it's 1. Click on this, you can find the assessment now. See, we have 1 Azure VMs. Okay, and we can go with the North Europe. It's going to be appliance based. Okay, discovery. And we have it here. You click on this. And you get the Azure readiness. It says about it's ready to move for Azure. It's ready with conditions. If you have any flags that says that you're not ready to move for Azure, then you will get it listed up over here as well.
Hi Abdul, so just wanted to ask one more thing. So the confidence rating currently is only at 1 star. So could you just tell us that what are these factors responsible for increasing the confidence rating? I guess the confidence rating is what MS give,
Yeah.
that how much reliable your servers are on migrating to Azure.
You have a checklist here, like you need to give up the disk details. Can you find this? You need to give up the disk details. You need to give up the VMware details. You have to give up a CSV template about the on-premise server data as well. So when you give all these details, especially the CPU utilization, all these things, no, then it can give you the exact performance rating. So we haven't listed up all these things, no? So you're getting like 1 star here, the confidence rating. You need to give some log files which can make sense about the migration. So here is my readiness. I was here with Azure readiness. And you get the estimate as well. You scroll. This is Azure readiness. Okay, and go for cost details. Someone was asking me this. You get a cost details as well over here based on data center region. You also get a readiness issue which can be identified over here. Okay, and just same like that. Once when we are done with all these things, you need to put up the agent. Okay, I will. We are actually running out of time, so it's not like we can complete it on the one day. Okay, I'll stick for another like probably 2 minutes to hold on with your questions if you have any, and we will stop with this. We will make a series of continuation again. Okay, to make it by the next series of the same. Okay, we will have a continuation of migrating the same on the next community meetup. Probably let's plan it for the next weekend then. So this is, until now, we have made the discover and we have made the assessment. We have made sense about how the cost matrix works, and we have discussed about the reference architecture as well, like what are the steps that has to be carried out for the migration. We'll be continuing with the next community meetup, probably by the next weekend to make sense about, let me say, speaking about the migrate, speaking about the database migration for the same workloads.
So you will be updating on
Hi,
email.
yeah, I have. Just give me a moment. I have some questions here. Let me get it answered, and I will come back. Hi, Bindu Vardhana. Hi, Feroz. What discovery if something breaks in between? How to troubleshoot or check? Yeah, discovery if something breaks in between. It's a managed service by Azure, Bindu. So it's going to be like you don't have any logs or you don't need to put up any cache. It's going to be the responsibility of Microsoft. They can, you just need to refresh once. They can do the dry run once again. Hi, hi Feroz. So what are the network level prerequisites we're supposed to have for the pledges-free migration process? The only very basic thing is that you need to keep your proxies to be opened up, and that I see like a big challenge from my customer side as well. So your proxies has to be open up, like the remote connectivities, your database connectivities, your port addressing, all no. So that's the only challenge. Data. Hi Ram. Okay, rediscovery option. Oh, that's for Bindu. Hi Amar. How to calculate the network bandwidth needed for migration between on-prem? Your SS itself will share you that, Amar. And hi Imran, if we start migrating the workload, does it have to be in sequence? For example, SQL application in the web like recovery planner? No. You can even have like multiple flavors. You can have third-party mixture of connections as well, like Oracle, or we have even the Cosmos DB all, no? So you can have like third-party things. You can increase the confidence rating by increasing the assessment period to at least like 24 to 48 hours. I agree, Upendra, but then again, you need to give up the logs. You need to say like what's going to be the disks that you have, what's going to be. You remember when I was discussing the deck, I said that there will be like 32 or 64 bit of machines that we have. So those logs can also be shared along with the virtual appliance, and that would help you to increase the confidence rate. If you can cover AWS migration in the next series. Imran, AWS migration in the next series. I would say let's get this done, and then we will go for AWS migration. Will that be okay, Imran? Let's get the first this on-prem to AWS to get completed. Okay, Bindu, you can get the video on the AWS. Sorry, on the YouTube channel of your Azure. Okay, Dear Azure. You can follow up me or you can follow up Kasam, right, over the LinkedIn or Twitter, and we will give an update on the link for the same. All right, friends.
Just last question.
Hi, yeah.
Yeah. Suppose we have Windows Server 2019 with on-premise license in at on-premise physical server or Hyper-V. When we migrate that VM to the Azure, what will be the license? Will be changed or it will be the same?
You just need to give up the product key. Once when you say that you already have a license, when you spin up the servers, they will ask you for the product key. You can log in with the product key and they will keep it activated with the cloud account. So the license will be the same, but then it will be considered as a cloud account once when you provide it, if it's valid.
So I have to regenerate the key and reassign the key to the VM itself.
Yeah, the existing key itself, you need to reassign to the Azure VM. You will be opened up with a portal on which you need to share it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a challenges for the Windows license for client operating system in Azure. Suppose in a couple of the organization they do still use the Windows 7 or Windows 10 client operating system. Is it feasible in Azure?
No, not exactly, Vicky. We need to move for the recent versions that we have. The end of services will not be supported on the cloud environment. Microsoft always recommends for an update to roll out.
Because there'll be a dependency that if I want to migrate to the on-premise to the cloud, there are the application dependency for to with the version wise. In that case, we can't even migrate a few of the client operating system.
I completely stand with you on that, but then I even face my customers who have their legacy applications and they don't prefer to migrate, thinking about the hurdles that they might have. But speaking about the cloud, that's the only recommended approach that we have. If not, you even see that, let's say if it's like a .NET application or no, you get the NuGet packages dependencies to be throttled. So when you speak about cloud, we need to go with the recent updates that we have. The traditional versions of Windows 7 or even the Windows servers that we have, it's not recommended by any cloud environment, not just Azure, but even like AWS or anybody.
Thank you.
All right, Mickey. Hey, Ram, cool. Okay. So here is your, excuse me, on mute, please. Here is your online role-based training resource that are available as well. Not just about Migrate, but then like the all documentations that are available that are provided by Microsoft. You can follow that. Thank you so much for all your fruitful timing and see you on the next series of the sessions as well.